This video is about the process of planting red spruce on a plot of land recently harvested. This hillside in Dagle, Maine was once farmland to raise potatoes, oats on a self-sufficient farm. Once the farm was sold, the land started to grow in aspen, in alders, in red osier dogwood. It was being reclaimed by Mother Nature. The land was then planted in red pine through a cross-sharing program with the Department of Soil Conservation. The trees grew, and grew very well, from 1982 until 2015, when a disease started to kill the red pines. The trees, 40 feet tall, 18 inches on the stump, were then harvested. Now the land is being reclaimed one more time through a planting of red spruce. Through nurseries, seedlings coming from the Irving Corporation. These will be replanted right here in Dagle, Maine, on this property, which was once potato farmland. You will notice that the stumps have been cut right close to the ground, and all the brush has been removed during the harvest of the trees in 2018. It's now 2019, and the planting is about to begin. And this is the nursery stock that was obtained from the Irving Corporation. They were brought here several days ago to await plantings. The trees, 8 to 10 inches tall, were planted in these plastic tubes. As you can see, these are trays in which the trees were planted, have grown, and now are being readied to be planted. These are red spruce seedlings. This is July, and they already have a good growth on all of the trees. The seedlings were brought in a few days in advance of the planting crew. The seedlings have been put all together, watered, and then covered with a tarp to protect them from the sun and also to slow down the evaporation. And we're here with the tree planting crew. 12 workers and 3 people from Irving are here to plant the trees on this hill.
I'm Ethan Olson with JD Irving. Today we're planting red spruce. You can see this ground. There's no site prep here. You can tell it's just the way it is after harvest. No site preparation, chemical or mechanical.
Now, Ethan, why red spruce?
This ground, decently rocky, fairly dry. Red spruce would do good here. And red spruce is the spruce of Maine.
Is it native to Maine?
Yes. Yep. These are Maine genetics in these seedlings here.
So the seedlings are actually seeds from that were harvested here in Maine.
Yep, by Jesse Saunders.
Up here in northern Maine.
Yep.
And I noticed all the trees were grown in trays. Mm-hmm. Where were they raised actually?
The nursery is in Juniper, Canada. There's one in Sussex and in Juniper. These likely came from Juniper.
And now this year you're part of a planting crew.
Yes, sir.
And I'm assuming what do you do? Do you work full-time for JD Irving?
Yep, over the summertime. Well, you could call it part-time, but I'm full-time over the summer, beyond full-time. So we're working pretty hard out here. This is an example of the way these trees come.
So this is right out of the nursery. It came right up. It's a tray.
Yep, not frozen. A lot of places elsewhere plant frozen trees, but these were never frozen. Grown just like the way they are here, and they're still growing as we speak.
Now when you plant these, what's the spacing between each tree?
Roughly about 6 feet. We're looking at 1,800 trees per hectare, 729 per acre.
Is that specific to the spruce?
I think that's just, yeah, I think you'd use a different spacing for other species, but for all of our spruce we're planting in Maine, that's our generic spacing we're using.
Now, here, does it matter? Does the species have to match the soil type or the soil conditions? Or?
Oh, yeah. Yep. If you're in a really rocky site, you probably want to use red spruce. If you're in a super nice site, nice sandy soil, well drained, you can go for a Norway, which is a European species. It grows very well, but some people aren't into planting a non-native species. But Irving plants some Norway. But personally, red spruce is my favorite. It grows well in diverse sites. You could put it in some wetter sites. It handles frost pockets well, which are low areas where frost settles, better than white spruce, and definitely more diverse sites than black spruce, which really handles well in the wetter conditions.
Now this seedling, how old is this seedling, and when was it planted?
Well, if we count, I'm going to estimate here. I'm going to give you, say this is 2 years old.
It's a 2-year-old, so it was planted 2 years ago.
Yep, seed was bedded 2 years ago, I'd say.
Is that typical 2-year-old trees?
Yeah, when they're 1 year old, if we plant 1-year-old seedlings, the roots usually aren't developed enough. In my opinion, the wad falls apart a lot of the time. But then also when your trees are too old, they're heavy for the guys to carry. They're a little bit taller. Our deliveries can carry less of them, so 2 years is the perfect time to send them up to Maine.
Now I notice you have looks like a walking stick.
Yeah, this is my cane. No,
it's called
a dibble bar. This is what we use to plant in Maine. Elsewhere they use hoe dads or shovels, but we use dibble bars here. It has a cone on the end, same shape as
the tree.
Yep, as the roots of this tree. So what we do? Do you want me to show you how we?
Oh, absolutely.
So on our site here, you can see the slash from the harvest. There's cones and everything else. This tree needs to be in the mineral soil, kind of what you see here. So the way our guys do it is they use their boot and they scuff away the slash down to where you can see this. That's the color we're looking for, right there. Now with this, hopefully this is no rocks under here, but get a nice hole, drop the seedling right in, compact the sides a little bit, step on it, it's good to go, and it'll grow hopefully a few feet a year soon.
How long? I'm assuming that the first few years there's a root system that needs to be established.
Yep, yeah, the root system, these trees will probably establish their roots first. This is the time where there's the most mortality as well, and when we first put them in the ground, give it a year or two, that's when we're going to see the most mortality. But after that, the ones that survive likely to produce some studs in the future.
Now Ethan, you started to say that this is a summer job.
Yep.
What do you do normally?
Oh, I'm a full-time student at the University of Maine forestry program.
In the forestry program at the University of Maine at Orono?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. What year?
I'm going to go into my senior year.
And your plans?
Hopefully be a forester, maybe for Irving, but we'll see.
Well, excellent. Well, thank you, Ethan, and thank you for the demonstration. Certainly most people don't see this, or very few people do.
Yep. Tree planting in Maine is not totally commonplace, just our forest type. We use a lot of natural regeneration, and you can see this area is already regenerating fairly well with our early successional aspen. So, but yeah, we want softwood up in Maine, not as much hardwood.
Is there a better market? Is that it, or is Irving more interested in softwoods?
Well, if you have high quality hardwood, they usually bring more money. But
Yeah.
the way it works, when you harvest, when you do these standard placing harvests, clear cutting, a lot of the times you usually get hardwood. So our forest type is changing from majority softwood to mixed wood and hardwood, and it's just good to reclaim some of these sites with pure softwood. It makes it, and it's a monoculture, but in a way, it's increasing diversity on the landscape still.
Well, Ethan, thank you, and thank you for the demonstration, and certainly thank you for planting the site.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Each worker carries a belt, and this belt has 3 trays attached to it. Now this worker is getting ready to go back out. As you can see, the tray is attached to the belt. Clamp shut. 3 trays will be attached to this belt. Then he'll put it around his waist and walk off to the site. Now he's getting ready to go back out in the field and attaching each tray to the belt. It's actually clamped to the belt, then the belt will be put around his waist, and off he goes to plant the trays. As you can see, the site was harvested last year and it's starting to green up again, grow up in aspen, red osier dogwood, some maples. So before it gets too tall and the competition sheds out these new trees, they need to be planted. And the planting crew goes through the vegetation, looks for certain areas where they can plant a new one that's out in the open with good mineral soil. This is a steep area, but the workers are looking for certain spots between the vegetation where they actually plant the trees. Last year this was cut over, it was all bare ground, but now that there's sunlight, a lot of vegetation has started to grow. As you can see, they scuff out the ground, make a hole, plant the tree, step on it, compact the soil around the roots, and move to the next tree. It doesn't take very long to plant a tree. As you can see, he went about 6 feet, stopped, made the hole, planted the tree, and off he went to the next tree. As you can see, before digging the hole, he pulls one tree out of the tray, gets it ready in his hand, scuffs up the ground, digs a hole, and then drops it into the ground. Moves on to the next tree. As you can see, he's got half of one tree planted and 2 more trays. Scuff the ground, plant the tree, and move to the next site. Now Ethan, you've got, looks like a piece of wire and a pole.
Yep.
What is it?
This is my plot stick. This is how I check density of our planting jobs. So, and also assess quality at the same time.
Now when you said density, what does it mean?
Trees per unit area. We work in hectares and acres, either one. This plot is a 1/200th hectare plot, which means it has a diameter of about 13.1 feet. We want 9 trees in our plot to get right on the money. So I come into the area, since it's not site prepped, there's no trenches here, I can put the plot anywhere and I should get 9 trees. But there might be a catch. So I'll start off, here's our first tree. I'll leave that there so I remember. Make sure it's tight in the ground so it doesn't just pull out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now we got 7 trees here, but we're really looking for 9. But there's a reason for that. Over here we have this big slash pile. The guys aren't going to plant in this slash pile because it's too much work and it's not realistic to scuff through that wood.
So it looks like almost 2 feet thick of branches and...
Yep. Yeah, imagine having to kick your boot through there and try to wiggle in a spot for a tree. When right here, there's minimal effort, kick a couple times and you put a tree in the ground.
Right.
So that's why we got 7 here. We can make up for that elsewhere. You can see this was kind of an out area. It should have been included in the out area, but kind of loops out there. So this was included in the block. And our closest tree in here is over here. So our guys are looking for the correct microsite, which is easily accessible mineral soil with as little organic as possible. That's what we're looking for.
So how often do you do this test?
So these plots, typically we do 1 plot per hectare. But since we're working on a private lot here, I've probably done 10 plots per hectare so we could make sure our quality is 100%.
Some spots are very hard, either rocks or roots from the previous trees. This is what the trees look like after they've been planted. As you can see, the ground has been scuffed up, a hole made, and the tree planted in the hole. The ground is then scuffed up again to make sure the tree is carefully buried. In 20 years, might be 20 feet tall. Once the trees have been planted, the worker comes back and he puts his mark on the trays to show how many he's planted today. So as you can see, he's planted 2, 4, 6, 7 trays this morning. Now you can see the mark that he puts, indicating that these were planted by a specific worker. These will be refilled next year at the nursery. And now we're doing a test of this other plot. As you can see, the stick is driven into the ground, making a radius. And you count the number of trees that are in the complete circle. Optimally, 8 to 10 trees is what we're trying to achieve for the planting of these red spruce.
We got 10 trees over here. 10.
10 trees on this plot.
Yep. And that's not bad. That's running on our upper end, but it's not bad. There's a couple on the roadside. We gotta use all of it before we use this one. So we can put the white in one area.
As you can see, they work as a team, keeping space between each one as they plant the trees through the property.
Stayed up late? Y'all go into the buffet? Yeah.
They waste no time going up the hill.
Sonrisa Mincho, como aquel que sale en internet, aquel sin viento. Ay, Ricardo.
You can see how the ground has been scuffed up before the tool makes a hole in the ground and the tree gets planted. Now Ethan, here in this plot, you've just measured out the plot. There were 9 trees here.
Yep.
What do you expect the survival rate to be? I'm sure you're probably hoping for all 9.
Yeah, hopefully. Typically, 95% survival is pretty common. That's pretty good too. We're happy with 95%, and not much more you can ask for there.
Now I noticed there's a lot of vegetation here. Is this going to compete with the young trees?
Yep, definitely. We have aspen growing and other sorts of herbaceous vegetation that'll shade our spruce. Probably won't kill our spruce in the short run. Red spruce is fairly shade tolerant, but it will definitely limit growth, and our spruce will never outgrow these aspen. Not a chance. So we pretty much forced to use a herbicide to sort of push back this aspen. You're never going to remove it completely from the stand. It'll always be a component of the stand. Aspen and red maple will be here in the future.
So you're talking about applying some kind of, or spraying some kind of herbicide.
Yep.
Now, when would you typically do it, especially in a site like this?
We do it in the late summer. What you do is you wait for the softwood. This growing season ends before the hardwood. So when the growing season of the softwood's over, the herbicide will affect it less. You can hurt your spruce with the herbicide too, but since the spruce will be, with its growing season's over and the aspen is still growing, the way the herbicide works, I'm not sure totally how it works, but it affects the growth of the aspen by causing it to rapidly utilize its sugar storages. So its food source will be depleted at the end of the growing season. next year should be dead, if not pretty close to dead.
Now, does it affect other vegetation, grass?
Yeah,
or,
you'll pretty much, any vegetation that's growing here while we spray it, if it's in the growing season, it should kill it. But the thing is, this early successional stuff, like aspen and the rest of this herbaceous stuff, we're only gonna push it back a couple years.
It'll grow back.
Yes, the spruce, only thing that would prevent it from growing is if the canopies of these tiny seedlings were to close, and they're not going to close for another 15 years.
Yeah.
So
now we're planning. This is the end of July, very close to the end of July. Now these trees haven't established any kind of root system. I mean, not at least here. So would it be logical to spray only next year?
Next year, the year after. Probably next year would be the best.
Next year would be the best to give them a chance to start growing.
Yep, give them a little chance, and yeah, you don't want to shock your fresh seedlings.
Yep. So this is so yeah. Really becomes kind of a necessity.
Yep, it is an absolute necessity, because you could cut all of this vegetation, but you trample your seedlings. You pretty much, that's the only thing you can really do. Your spruce could maybe survive in the understory under this aspen, but you'd limit your growth, and also this aspen probably won't produce a viable product. I'd assume.
Well, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, the crew started at 7 o'clock, and this is perhaps 10 o'clock. And most of the 12 acres have been planted. The crew is in this last section, which was once a stand of red pine. Now it's going to be red spruce. This is back-breaking work and hard on the legs, all day long pounding on the stick to plant the trees. Now your name is?
Solomon.
Solomon?
Solomon Reyes.
Now you're from where?
Honduras.
You're from Honduras? How about the rest of the crew?
Everybody's Honduras.
They're from Honduras.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're up here for the entire summer, or do you spend the whole year? I mean, you're planting trees.
It's done the planting, it's go PCT. Go the PCT, it's go work for a ski resort. Done right there, go back home.
Oh, some of them will go back.
Yeah, in November.
In November.
November or sometime December, go back home.
Their visas work on 9-month increments, I think.
Yeah, 10 months.
10 months.
So you're on a work visa for 10 months.
Yeah, it got it for, and this my visa now is expired in December 25 this year.
Oh, really? So you can apply for a visa for more than 1 year.
Yeah, it's for 1 year.
Now, how long have you been in the U.S.? When did you start?
2007.
In 2007.
Yeah, me having 18 years. It's very young.
18 years you've been coming up to, and is it always for the same company?
Yeah, for Horizon, for Emilio.
And so this year, you're going to plant. I mean, it sounds like for this summer, you've got how many trees is your crew expected to plant?
It's 30 per day, really.
Yeah, about 30,000 a day.
30,000 trees a day. Now there are 12 guys.
Yeah, 12. Some last time got a 14, really, or 15.
Yeah.
So 12 guys, 30,000. So you plant more than 2,000 trees a day.
3,000.
3,000
Yeah.
a day.
Yeah, for men.
Yeah, if they get,
Per person.
Per person, exactly.
if they get 2,500 a day, we're really happy.
Yeah, it's normally it's the 2,400, 2,500. Yeah, you know.
So now in 2 weeks, you go on to something else.
2 weeks go. No, it's continue for Irving. It's
For
go,
Irving, but some other process.
Yeah, the PCT.
Yeah, pre-commercial thinning.
Pre-commercial thinning. This is where they.
Yeah, this is where they're reducing the density of a young stand with brush saws. It's like a chainsaw. They're cutting trees and leaving them on the ground to reduce the density, so our crop trees grow more rapidly. That's what Salome is going to do.
Yeah.
Next. Now, do you have a preference to the job? Is this pre-commercial thinning or planting?
It's same. Everything same money, you know.
It's the same day.
money is same, you know.
Yeah.
But so many is preparation for PCT, but it's both good.
Yeah.
Now, what about? I'm assuming the workers have got families.
Yeah, everybody having everybody having family.
They have a family,
Yeah, having a girlfriend, kids.
so they leave there and they come up here for 10 months.
Yeah, 10 months.
10 months.
10 more than
They don't see their family.
They don't see the family. It's hard.
Tough. It's hard work. It's hard work, and it's also hard to be away from home.
Yeah, because it's happened that you see family all the time.
Yeah.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, I know. Well, good. Well, thank you very much for what you're doing. The crew is doing extremely well, and
Yeah.
very nice work too.
Yeah, try working good all the time.
Yeah,
you know?
Salome is probably the best foreman Irving has. I'd put my name on the line. Salome is the best guy we have.
It's happy.
Very good. Well, thank you both.
Yeah, thank you.
All 12,000 red spruce have been planted. It has taken 4 hours to plant the 12,000 trees. The workers are now getting ready to move on to another site. As you can see, all the empty boxes have been stacked. A tally of each worker and the number of trays that the worker has planted is being counted. This will determine the pay for each worker. This pile is 24 trays. If you multiply that by an average of 62 trees per tray, it will give you an idea of how many trees were planted this morning. A special thank you goes out to Jesse Saunders of the Irving Corporation for making the tree planting arrangements. Thank you goes out to Ethan Olson of Irving for coordinating and explaining the planting process. Thank you goes out to Salome Reyes for overseeing the workers. And a very special thank you to the Honduran workers for their pride and quality in their work.